to this live. I'm so excited for you all to be here. Thank you so much for joining. I'm very excited to be on the C Word Summer Series today. Hello. So welcome to the C Word Summer Series. Today I'm going to be talking about mindset, and I'm going to be answering some common questions that I receive pretty much on a daily basis through my Instagram and also from my clients for the next 30 minutes or so. So I'm very excited to be here with you all. Whoops, sorry for shaking that. If you have any questions along the way, anything you're blocked with, anything that you want some guidance on, you just let me know, and I'm more than happy to hop in there and just answer some of the questions that you have. So I guess the best place to start, and where I really wanted to begin, is just to intro who I am a little bit, what I do, and why I do it. So I'm an intuitive mindset coach, and I'm also the host of the Happiness Happens podcast. I'm wearing my shirt so I can represent this beautifully because it's so much of who I am. And I really intuitively guide heart-centered entrepreneurs to master their mindset so that they can explore their shadow selves and ultimately live their dream life in the most wonderful way possible. I wanted to just kind of give you a little background of who I am and how I got here, because I think that mindset is such an interesting topic because everybody's mindset is so different and everyone has such a different journey to exploring their mindset. So for me, I started my mindset journey back in 2018. I woke up one morning and I absolutely hated my life. I hated my life. I hated who I was. I hated everything about myself. I was so negative. I hated everything that I stood for. I was a super challenging person. I was very judgmental, very negative, and really gossipy. And what happened was I was all of these things and I would do all of these actions, and then I would just feel so guilty afterwards because it was so far from who I actually was. And I had just dug myself into this place of absolutely hating everything that I had. Anyways, so I realized, I woke up, literally one morning I woke up and I was like, I don't want this for my life anymore. And so with some really loving encouragement from my fiance, I took the first step to moving forwards. And what really happened was I ended up going to therapy, and I sat there for a little bit and worked through some of the stuff that was holding me back. And I learned a lot about myself. I did that for about a year. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about, who I was, what I liked, why I wanted to do, why I wanted to change my life. And this really led me to the creation of my podcast. So on this podcast, when I first started it, it was very much talking about the different mindset blocks that I was facing and how to overcome them. Then it shifted into conversations and interviews with entrepreneurs. So now I interview different entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, coaches, and really get down to the nitty-gritty of their story, their why, what brought them to where they are, what challenges did they face, and how did they get out of that challenge. And what happened was I really realized that so many people feel the same way. And I was like, wow, if I'm feeling this way, somebody else must be feeling this way. And ultimately, I really just wanted to provide a space for people to know that it's okay and that things can get better, and it doesn't have to be the same way that it always was. So I've written out some questions of things that I get on a daily basis, some questions that people ask me, and I'm going to go through the questions, and if you have any other ones, just drop them into the comments and I'm happy to answer them, no problem at all. Okay, so the first question that I receive all the time is, why is mindset important? I really think that mindset is important because it's the foundation of everything that we do. It's the beginning of everything that we experience, every interaction we have, every response, and every single outcome that we have in our lives. How we feel about ourselves is translated exactly through our mindset, which is translated again into how we respond to people and how we treat people. And I think that, it's really a lot about how we feel about ourselves. Hi, Emily. It's really about, the responses to the situations that we're put in, and it's everything in between. Our mindset is the foundation for how we interact with people, but also the energy that we put out and the energy that we allow back in. So what you're putting out, if you allow that to come back to you, you have a choice, right? And we're gonna get into choice in a little bit. So ultimately, I really think that when you don't take the time to focus on your mindset work, and when you don't take that little extra step to check in with yourself on a daily basis of how you're feeling and what you're experiencing, you really end up feeling disconnected, and you end up feeling not aligned anymore to who you are. And it derails you from your true path and your true purpose. So a lot of the work that I do is helping people discover what that is. What does their dream life look like? What is it that they want for themselves? Which all comes back down to mindset. So, talking a lot about dream life, I wanted to talk about how do you find your purpose, how do you find your passion, and how do you ultimately live that dream life. So I think that, as this is the second question that I typically get, finding your passion, finding your purpose, finding what you want to do in your life is something that's so personal. Nobody can tell you what you want to do in your life. Nobody can tell you what your big dream is. Nobody can tell you what is right or wrong in that, because finding your passion, finding your purpose, and living that dream life is so personal and so unique to you. No one can tell you what you should do. And a lot of the time we live in a place of should. I should post on Instagram, otherwise my business isn't going to do X, Y, and Z. I should show up in my life because of this way, this way, this way. I should go out with this person because I haven't seen them in a long time. When you live from a place of should, what are you sacrificing in exchange? What are you taking away from your own self to give to that should that actually isn't aligned with who you are at all? You end up making all of these decisions from a place of not alignment with yourself, which actually derails you even further from what you truly want to be doing. And I really think that our passion is rooted in our values. So if you're trying to find that passion, if you're trying to find that thing that makes you light up, what do you value? Do you value family? Do you value animals? Do you value writing? Do you value speaking? Are you passionate about a cause? What are the specific things that you value? And how can that translate into something tangible that you can do and serve, like service to the world, but through your own self? So I really think that everything we do is a full extension of who we are as people. If you have a business, your business is an extension of who you are as a person. This C-Word Mag is an extension of who the creators are as people. And you bring into everything you do the values that you uphold and what you're so deeply rooted in. So I think it's so important to really take inventory and figure out what your values are, because once you figure that out, everything that you do naturally follows suit of what that ultimate value is. So finding what you're passionate about and finding what your purpose is takes a lot of trial and error. You're not just going to step into this moment and forever know exactly what you're going to do all the time. Because ultimately what happens is you step into it, you try, maybe it's not exactly aligned. Okay, you try something else. And people use this word pivot. We're pivoting all the time. You know what I mean? If you do something and you don't enjoy what you do, you're gonna pivot and you're gonna do something different. And that's okay. You know what I mean? You're allowed to explore and you're allowed to do anything that you want. And so I think that this is the thing, is that very, what's the word I'm looking for? That very personal experience, I think, is very important. Because eventually what ends up happening is you land on the place that you land on the place that makes you light up. You land on that place that makes you feel fulfilled. You land on that place that no matter what is happening around you, you're more than happy to do that thing every day, because that is what is the extension of you. That is what is so ingrained in you. Okay? So again, if you are just joining, if you have any questions at all along the way, just let me know. I will answer them live for you. Okay, another question that I get is, can you define dream life? So I think that this term, and I overuse it all the time, dream life, your dream life, your dream life. What is your dream life? What does that dream life consist of? And I think that ultimately when I was breaking this down and thinking about this, what exactly is a dream life? I think a dream life is, simply put, a life that you're proud to live every single day. A life that is aligned to you, a life where you don't feel like you're sacrificing any part of you because you're so confident and you're so still in who you are as a person. I think that your dream life is whatever you want it to be. There are no rules around your dream life. There are nothing to, tell you what your dream life should be. And I really think that, you define the dream. Is your dream fame? Okay. Is your dream 1 million followers? Perfect. Is your dream having a family? Absolutely. Is your dream, adopting 18 dogs? I mean, that's probably my dream, just saying. But, perfect, wonderful. If that's what your dream is, you are allowed to have that dream. So, you get to choose your dream on a daily basis. You get to, live that dream life that is your version, not somebody else's version of what you're creating for somebody else. You're actually creating it for you. And so I think when you operate and come from a place of knowing that, whatever it is you're creating for yourself is for you, and you don't need the permission from somebody else to come in and to tell you what your dream is. No, you get to decide that dream life every single day, and you get to do that from a place that's aligned and purposeful to you. Okay, I think that, what happens with this dream life idea is that a lot of the times we're living somebody else's dream. We're living somebody else's idea of what is a good dream life to have. And then so we wake up one day and we're so unhappy and we're like, how did I get here? I hate this job. I hate doing this. I don't like this part of my life. Why do I live here? I don't like living here. All of these different things. Like, I want more vacations. It all comes from a place of like, you've built a life that somebody else has told you should have. And so you wake up one day at whatever age you wake up and you're like, what the F is going on right now? I don't like any of this. And then that is your opportunity. And that is the moment where you wake up and you realize that you have a choice now. You have a choice in shifting into whatever it is you want, because you've had that awakening and that realization that you want and that you deserve more for your life. Okay, the next question that I get all the time is, when does mindset work end? It never does. Mindset work never ends. Mindset blocks happen and come up for everybody all the time. Even if they tell you that they don't, they do. Because when you're doing the mindset work, mindset blocks and challenges come at every single moment. They come when you're up leveling. They come when you're stepping into something new. They come when you're doing something that you've never done before. They come in all of these different ways. And I think that it's really key to note here that once you have the tools and once you're able to use the tools and to implement them quicker than before, that's when the work and the magic happens. You don't stay stuck in the same thing for as long, because you're actually shifting a lot quicker than you would have in the past. So you're not staying stuck in that feeling of unworthiness, or that feeling of not feeling good enough, or that feeling of not feeling deserving of what it is you want for yourself and for your life. And so when you're able to shift a lot quicker, you create the space for yourself that you operate from a different level. You have a different vibration that goes out into the world, right? So I think that it's just really important to note that it's normal to have these mindset blocks, and it's equally as important to have the tools behind you in your back pocket. And I'm going to talk about the tools that I use with my clients and with myself to unshift from a mindset block that's been holding us back. So ultimately, just knowing that when you pair these two together, you create this ultimate outcome for yourself. So another question that I get is, why is it so hard for me to be happy in my life? It's such a good question. It's because that you're looking outside of yourself for validation. You're looking to something else outside of yourself for the validation that you're seeking internally. You're looking for guidance. You're looking for next steps, and you're overthinking the simplicity of exactly what it is that you want. So when we're looking externally to all of the different things that we want in our lives, we end up in a super unhappy place, because we are not taking the time to turn inward and connect with ourselves to understand what it is that we really want and what it is that really makes us happy. I think that It's also fair to say that a lot of the time this can come from trying to keep up with other people as well, the people around us, going out because everyone else is, but you really don't want to be, starting a business in this specific niche because someone has told you should, going to visit family on the weekend when you don't really want to, you know what I mean? All of these things contribute to like our happiness factor. They all contribute to this like bank within us of things that fill us up with joy. And I think that it's fair to sort of define what happiness is. For me, happiness is this like inner peace. It's this deep inner knowingness and alignment to self that you can't really explain to other people. And it's being so firmly rooted in who you are as a person that you're good with it. You know what I mean? You're good with this place that you're at. And so what happens is when we give parts of ourselves away and when we give energy away, we end up in a place that's, let me backtrack. When we give energy away that we're not willing or wanting to give away and doing something that doesn't feel aligned or that we're not happy with doing, we end up feeling that resentment. We end up taking away from our happiness bank. So you're putting stuff in and you're letting it come right back out because you're doing things that don't make you happy, that don't bring you happiness. So it's about creating that boundary. How do we create that boundary around yourself and protecting yourself? Essentially that's pretty much it. And so I think that it's so key here to note as well is that you're living somebody else's version of your life. And a lot of the times when we're unhappy, we can look to that place and understand that I'm unhappy right now because I'm doing something that's not aligned exactly with me. And that you need to be taking a moment to think about what it is that you really want in your life. Find the worthiness in your heart, find the worthiness within you, and then go for that dream. Just take the step, just take the aligned action. I think people ask this like all the time because it's like, what's the difference between the people who are actually between the people who are actually doing it and the people who are not actually doing it? The difference is belief in self and aligned action to take you to that next step. It's so key to be able to take that next step. It's having the confidence within yourself and knowing that you believe in yourself, in your dream, in your worthiness, in your deservingness to step out of what is comfortable and step into what makes you so incredible. And so I think that this part is just so key because the people who do versus the people who don't, the only thing that's missing is action. The only thing that's missing is belief in action together. So I really think that it's important to know that. Ooh, yes. What 3 steps do you recommend to keeping a positive mindset during the coronavirus pandemic? I think that the first thing for me, and something that I've been practicing a lot and helping my clients work through is perspective. So perspective and understanding of how you're feeling. So I think that the first thing in terms of positive mindset is really to sit with your feelings and don't discount them. Don't discount how you're feeling. If you're feeling sad, allow yourself to feel sad. If you're feeling confused or lost, allow yourself to feel those feelings of confusion or loss. If you've lost your job, allow yourself to sit with that because you're mourning something that's gone. But then the key is to let yourself feel the feelings and then take active steps to shift it. And I'm gonna go through my way of shifting from like a negative to a positive. So I think that will be really, really helpful. But I also think that, in this coronavirus pandemic, you have this opportunity now to think about your perspective on the situation. From my perspective, what good is this pandemic bringing you? Is this pandemic allowing you to be at home and spend time with your loved ones more? Get to know your kids again because you're always gone somewhere else. Reconnect with your significant other or loved one because you are not always, on the same page. I think that perspective is the first one. So my first step would be perspective and backtrack. My first step is sitting with your emotions and sitting with your feelings and giving yourself permission to feel them. The second one is perspective. And I think that perspective about everything, perspective about, shifting from how negative the situation is to how actually beautiful it can be and what it can be bringing into your life if you allow it. And I think that the third one really would be to do things that bring you joy and to do things that bring you happiness. If it's watching Netflix, go right ahead. If it's going for a walk, go right ahead. But I also think that, on that note, it's important to have, hello everybody, it's important to have that, that routine. Keeping that routine will help you keep a positive mindset because it's giving you purpose into something that you're doing every single day. So let's say you've lost your job during the pandemic. You're used to waking up, going to work, going to do this, come home. Find the things that allow you to have the routine that you're missing. And I really think from that point, you'll be able to have a more positive mindset, because ultimately everything comes back down to perspective and choice. You get to choose how you want to feel, whether you realize it or not. You get to choose. If you're angry, that is a choice that you're making. What are you sacrificing for that anger? If you are, and I think that the other thing to note about the pandemic too, because I hope this doesn't come off as insensitive, everyone is on the same ride, but everyone is feeling it in a different way. People have experienced this experience of the pandemic is completely personal to every single person. But I really think that it's, first one, dealing with, the feelings that you have and letting yourself sit in them. The second one is perspective. And then the third one would be, like routine and active choice towards what it is you want to be doing to create more of that routine in your life. So I hope that answers your question. The other question that I get a lot is, why is it so hard to have what I want? This one is so simple to answer. This one is one of my favorites, because ultimately, like, you're so welcome. Ultimately, you are making it harder than it needs to be. So when it's hard to have what you want, it's because you're making it harder than it needs to be. And you don't believe that you're worthy in having it. So I think those two things together, and having that awareness of yourself, that you're actually creating the outcome for yourself, is so key. And then the third part of this is that there's an underlying fear, or an underlying, fear sort of missing that needs to be addressed. So with those three things together, makes it very hard to have what you want, because when you're making things harder than they need to be, or when you don't believe that you are worth having what it is that you want, and you're not addressing the fear that thing brings you, you can't have what you want. You can't access it because you're constantly blocking yourself with the negative energy. It's like what you put out, you get back, right? Okay. Another question that I get all the time is, how do I stay positive all the time? Because if you follow my page, or if you listen to my podcast, or if we're connected somewhere else, you'll know I'm a very positive person pretty much 98% of the time. And I think that it's easy to think that as a mindset coach, you don't have blocks, or as a mindset coach, you don't experience pain or sadness or frustration. Do you know how much pain, sadness, and frustration I felt during the pandemic too? I took like 3 full weeks off, and I was like, we're gonna meditate every single day and it'll be perfect. I think that it's important to note that even though someone can be positive and happy 98% of the time, they can experience those feelings too. And so, I do get those mindset blocks, and I do get those moments of sadness, and I do get all of that. And I think that, when you work, when you do the work, and when you dive deep into the shadows, into the fear, into the pain that you're feeling, and you do the work to actively shift it, you move through things a lot quicker. Again, it comes down to that perspective. So you end up moving through these things so much faster. And also, I think it's noticing, and this can go back to the question about the pandemic as well, it's noticing that every single situation that you're in is temporary. It's not permanent. So if you've lost your job, it's temporary. How can you enjoy this moment instead of living out of a place of like fear and worry? How can you, take and just note that everything is temporary? So I think this sort of comes back to, if we know that everything that we are experiencing in life is temporary, is there a point in getting upset? Is there a point in getting fearful? Is there a point in knowing that, I have to have all of these feelings because I should? Or is it, on the other end of that, is it okay to feel it and let it go? You know what I mean? If this is temporary and it's not going to stay forever, is it okay to just let that go? And to know that it's not a permanent situation, to know that whatever you're experiencing is temporary. And I think when you come from that place, you know, it's a lot easier to shift back into positivity. It's a lot easier to shift into the peace mindset, and just wanting a peaceful life. Because when you think about every single situation, every single time you sit down with a relative, every single time you go out on a date night, every single time you go for a walk, all of those situations are temporary, right? They're happening in the present moment. They're happening right now. You're never going to get those moments back. So how do you want to enjoy those moments to its fullest possibility? Let's say you're sitting with a relative that, you know, for years and years and years, you've had so many issues with, and, you know, so much pain has happened. You know, the situation is all temporary, and you get to choose the next step. You get to choose that next action. And so I think when you operate and come from a place of like knowing that we're not going to be in this forever, and, you know, things change, and more will happen, and different things will happen. It's all just temporary, and it allows you to come from a place of love, and it allows you to come from a place of understanding and perspective, as opposed to the opposite. So I think that, you know, using that technique, and also the techniques that I've developed techniques that I use in terms of shifting mindset, shifting from where you are to the other side, I think that those are really important. So one of the other questions that I get is, what are limiting beliefs and what are limiting stories? This is my ultimate favorite question, because limiting beliefs and limiting stories are ideas that other people have created about you, or things that have been told about you to you for years and years and years, ever since you were born. So I think that noticing that a limiting belief is actually a story that somebody else has created for you, you have now the opportunity to decide if that's really the story that you want to have told about you, or if it's even the story that you believe about yourself. So I'll give you an example. When I was younger, when I was growing up, I was the dumb blonde, always. Never gonna go to university, never gonna do anything, because I was stupid, because I was dumb blonde. I bought into that story, and I was like, oh yeah, I have terrible grades, I'm never gonna go, I'm never gonna do anything worthy in my life, like it's never gonna be, you know, any of that. And so it's like, okay, is that story really true? Am I really believing that story? Or is it just something that somebody has created for me in my life that I'm now buying into, because somebody else has said it about me? So we all have limiting beliefs in our lives. The most common ones are not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, and just not feeling like you can do it. So it's understanding, where are those stories coming from? Okay, are you not worthy of it because someone told you that making $1 million is hard? Do you really believe that story? Is it really hard for you? Is that really a true story that you believe? So I think that limiting beliefs get placed on us by people and our loved ones and people who are surrounding us, because they decide what story we're going to tell, and we typically end up believing it. So when you start doing the inner work, you start to realize that you have all these limiting beliefs that people have created about you that you don't necessarily believe yourself. So yeah, I think that it's really important to uncover those limiting beliefs as well. I have 2 more questions that I'm going to go through. This next one is how to shift from a negative thought to an empowering one. This is my method, so if you have a pen and paper and you want to write this down 100%, please do. I think that it's so important to, when you're in a negative thought, to shift to the other side. How do you shift to the other side? Well, any negative situation that we're in, or any feeling that we're experiencing that's uncomfortable, it comes from a limiting belief. So write down the limiting belief, write down the story, write down whatever it is that you are experiencing. Right under it, you'll want to write down how that particular thing is making you feel. Then from there, you're going to write down where this belief is coming from. So where does it stem from? And then you're going to create 5 alternative beliefs to this one. And then these are like the more positive, more empowering stories that you can tell about this one negative thing. Then you're going to create a list of proof to support these new positive beliefs. So if you are, writing out all of your different things, you're going to want to create a list of things that prove why that story is not true. And then finally, I really think that it's about embodying the energy of this new belief, really stepping into what does it feel like to feel like I'm good enough in my business, to feel like I'm good enough in deserving my dream life. So let yourself feel it in your body, like really let yourself like feel it everywhere. It's amazing. And I really think that, you know, in order to have a change in a belief, you have to believe the new belief first. You can't start to believe something about yourself, like it won't actively change in your life if you don't truly believe it, which is why embodying the energy is so important. So my last question that I get all the time is, what's the key to having what you want? And I love this question because it's the most simple answer, and I think it's the most perfect way to end this live. It's the simplest answer, and it's often the hardest one to actually do, because the secret to having everything you want in your life is you. You need to take the action. You need to get out of your own way. You need to choose the more empowering thought. You need to take ownership of your life. And you need to take aligned action and believe that you're worthy of having what it is that you want. So I'm gonna let this stream for like 2 seconds. I just wanna see if anybody has any questions that I can answer before we hop off. If not, I would absolutely love to connect with you all. Hit my Instagram and just follow along there, and we can get connected. And yeah, I mean, thank you so much everyone for joining this live. And if you're watching the replay, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it, and I'm so grateful for your time. And I just really hope you have a beautiful day. I hope this was inspiring. You're so welcome. And I hope this takes, you know, this helps you take that, yes, it will be saved for after, and it's going to go on the main page as an IGTV video, so you can always go back to it. Okay, you guys, well, have a beautiful day. Sending you so much love and empowerment to, you know, really create that dream life for yourself. Thank you for having me. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful day.